Howdy everybody, it's Mr. D. In this video what we're going to be doing is we're taking a look at how to solve equations when we have variables on both sides of the equations. So far up to this point, all the equations we've solved have variables only on one side of the equation. And so we've been able to isolate that variable on whatever side it's on and moving the numbers to the other side. Well, in these examples, you're going to be able to see we have variables on both sides. And we have an n on the right side and n on the left side. And we know that it's all about getting the variables alone on one side. So what we have to do is we have to move the variables to one side. It really doesn't matter which side I choose. I just have to be consistent. So I'm going to get my n's all on the left side in this case. So any term with n in it, I've got to get it to the left side of the equation. So I have this term here, negative 2n on the right side. I'm going to go plus 2n to both sides. And that will, in effect, move my n from the left side to the right side, because here, negative 2n plus 2n, well, we know that's going to cancel each other out. Right? Now what I do is, on this left side, I'm combining my like terms. Right? I've got n and n right here. These are like terms, so I'm going to combine them. 3n plus 2n is 5n. Bring down the rest of the equation. Plus 2 equals negative 8. Okay. Now, we all should be able to do this from here. Now it's just about getting the variable alone. So, in order to get that variable alone, we'll subtract 2 from both sides. That'll start to move this 2 over. Negative 8 and negative 2, same signs. So combine the numbers and keep the signs. Negative 10, positive 2, negative 2, that'll cancel each other out. So we're left with 5n. Bring that down. Bring down our equal sign. 5n equals negative 10. And now, again, we're almost there. We almost have the variable all by itself. 5 times n, that's multiplication, so we got to do the opposite there. We got to divide. Divide by that 5. Both sides. What you do to one side, do to the other. N equals negative 2. Negative divided by positive. All right, and if I plugged it back in, all right, if I went back and I plugged it back in, let's see if I can find some room here on my page. If I decide to plug that back in, all right, we can do our check right over here. 3 times negative 2 plus 2 equals negative 2 times negative 2. Whoa. Minus 8. Okay, so 3 times negative 2 over here is negative 6 plus 2. Bring down that positive 2. Equals negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Positive 4. Negative times negative minus 8. So on the right side of the equation, we've got on the right side of the equation, we got 4 minus 8. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. And negative 6, positive 2, that'll also be negative 4. So it checks out. All right, this is a legit answer. It's all good. We have a check. So n equals negative 2. Again, you got to get all the variables to one side. Doesn't matter which side. But get them all to one side. Here we took that negative 2n, we moved it over. Let's take a look at one more example. Here we're going to have to combine a couple things. Take a look at example 2. Okay. Here we got n. Not only do we have n on both sides, it's inside of parentheses. So, yeah, of course we got to get the variables alone on one side. In this case, we have to move the variables to one side. In order to do so, we have to distribute first. So, remember, when we distribute to all the terms. So, this negative sign, you can think of this as negative 1 here, negative 1. You can think of this as negative 1. Negative 1 in front here. Negative 1 times 5n is negative 5n. Negative 1 times positive 6 would be negative 6. equals 2 times 3n is 6n. 2 times 8 is positive 16. Alright, now we got to get the ends to one side or the other. This time I'm going to move my ends to the right side. The reason I've been choosing that is I see that I have a positive n on this right side, and I have a negative n on my left side. So I can make life a little bit easier for me if I move this negative over here to become positive and join this positive n. It just happens to work out that way. Just like in this one here, I had a positive n here and negative n there, knowing if I move this n over, it'll be positive and positive. Sometimes it's a little easier to deal with. So I'm going to go plus 5n. And I'm doing the opposite there. It's negative, take the positive. Plus 5n. Okay, let's see. Here it's going to cancel out, so on the left side, the only thing remaining is negative 6. On the right side, we combine our like terms. 6n, 5n gives me 11n plus 16. Now I've got to get that variable all by itself. Okay. So we move that 16 to the other side now. Minus 16, minus 16. Here it cancels out, positive, negative 16. Negative 6, negative 16, same signs. Combine them, keep the sign. Negative 22 equals 11n. 11 times n. We're doing multiplication. In order to get that n alone, we'll divide by 11. Yikes. Still getting used to the marker. Divide by 11. I did it again. Okay. Divide both sides by 11. N equals, in this case, negative divided by positive, 22 over 11, negative 2. Okay? And so that's what we got there. So, n will equal negative 2. Again, anytime you have that variable inside the parentheses, you got to distribute to sort of set it free. And in this case, we had variables on both sides. So, again, we got to pick a side. It doesn't really matter which side you choose. You'll end up with the same answers. Okay? Hope this is helpful. If you're curious, you can always try doing one of these two examples, moving the variables to the other side than what I did, what I showed you, and you could work it out and you should end up with the same answer. Alright? I will see you guys in class. Bye-bye.